Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So I'd like to apologize in advance. It's 8 a.m. here and I have my kids trying to get ready for school in the background. So just in case you hear any background noise. Here, let me share my screen and we get started. Share. Okay, so today we want to talk about building intelligent chatbots in SharePoint sites. And we're going to walk us through what this is, why you would need to do this, and also what the prerequisites is in doing this, and show you a demo of how you would actually implement your chatbot in a SharePoint site. Now, our assumption is that you already have some existing or prior knowledge around some of the basic technologies we'll be talking about. So things like SPFX, things like Power Virtual Agents, and we won't be going into too much details on how to create a bot from scratch and all of that. But if you have any questions along the way, I believe you can drop them in the chat box and we'll take it from there. So presenting today is myself and Ola Jumoke. Jumoke, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Foyi. Hi, everyone, wherever you're joining from. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Ola Jumoke Toriela. I'm the CTO of Hashem Limited. Also an MCT and an MVP. I'm an MVP in the Microsoft Office, in the Office apps and services space category. I'm a co-founder like Foyi of Textiler, so it seems we tend to drag ourselves along. And then I'm also the user group lead for the MCT Nigeria M365 user group. I love music, and funny enough, I like to cook. One of my people tend to call me MJ. And let me say it ahead of time, my MJ is not like that of Michael Jackson because I don't know how to actually make any steps. But then I love good music. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on my Twitter and then, so all the technologies that I work on, M365, Microsoft Exchange, and I'm a very sound lover of Power Virtual Agents. So thank you. Going over to you.
Yes, thank you, MJ. Quick intro about myself. My name is Olajide Bello, and I'm a Microsoft MVP Business Applications. I'm also certified in Power Platform, and I have my strengths around Microsoft Cloud, Azure, and of course the Power Platform. I enjoy music and dancing, and traveling when I can. Also the founder of Textilers. Myself and Jumoke have the Textilers community that we use to help and support women who desire to have a career in technology. And we also have fantastic male allies who support this vision. I'm a member of the Dynamics Con advisory team and also one of the user group leads of the Power Platform user group in Nigeria. These are my handles. I'll be happy to connect with all of us on the call and support in any way I can. So thank you so much for joining us again today, and let's get into it. So our agenda for today is we're going to look at an overview of Power Virtual Agent. What is Power Virtual Agent? What can we use it for? I'm going to speak a bit about SharePoint Framework, why the SharePoint Framework, and also why would you need to publish your Power Virtual Agent to SharePoint, right? Because we know that Power Virtual Agent is published by default to certain channels, but in what situation would you need to publish this to a SharePoint site? And what are the prerequisites for publishing this to your SharePoint? After these 5 points, we'll go into the demo. So what is the Power Virtual Agent? It's basically an AI bot that enables users to quickly create chatbots using graphical interface without necessarily having to write lines of code, without having to default to pro developers. They can constantly update this chatbot themselves and even create new topics along the way. It's Microsoft's way of helping and strengthening again the citizen developer community by enabling them to do this themselves without defaulting to the pro developers. It also uses AI on the natural language and is able to understand what users are saying, even if they are typos and they're not exactly stating it the way they should. And also it's published to Microsoft Teams. You can also publish these bots once they're created to Facebook, to a custom website, to a mobile application, and also custom applications. So that's the overview of the Power Virtual Agents. And this is a screenshot that shows what it looks like. Now we have the SharePoint Framework. The SharePoint Framework is a page or a web part model that provides full support for client-side SharePoint developments and allows easy integrations with SharePoint data and also extending to Microsoft Teams, right? So that's why what we use the SharePoint Framework for. Now, why the SharePoint Framework? The framework came to being because in SharePoint developments, we have the iframe then in the past that we always use whenever we want to bring in custom development, and there's a lot of constraints around it. We also have the ability we had a reduced set of APIs we could integrate with, and the inability to integrate across various Office 365 workloads. So this was the reason why the SharePoint Framework was created, to enable developers, partners, engineers throughout the community build powerful and rich applications that are intuitive and simple to consume across various browsers and screens of different sizes. So that's why the SharePoint Framework came up, and that's what is currently used for at the moment. Now, we spoke about the Power Virtual Agents and SharePoint. Yes, like we all know, SharePoint is Microsoft's solution for intranet portals. But why would you need to publish your bot to a SharePoint portal? One of the reasons you need to do this is to make it easily accessible to users in your company intranets. So we spoke about some of the platforms that you can publish the Power Virtual Agent bots to by default, right? But as we saw in the earlier slides, SharePoint wasn't one of them. So what happens if your organization or your customer's organization is one where they constantly use the intranet? You don't want to take them out of that to a different platform because they want to interact with the bot. You want to meet your users where they are and where they're already used to. So that's one of the major reasons why you will need a Power Virtual Agent published to a SharePoint site. Now, if we would just want the bot to be available on one page of your site, you can actually publish that using the SPFX web parts. You don't need to use the extension. So the web parts can bring in your bot. But if you want the bot to be available on every page of that site, then you need to use the SharePoint Framework extension. And that's what we're going to show you in this demo. So for the demo today, we have certain prerequisites. So before you can publish your bots to a SharePoint intranet, you need to have your PVA license, your Power Virtual Agents license. You also need to have your SharePoint site available where you want to publish it to. You will need to have Node.js version 14.x, and also you need to have set up your SharePoint development environment. In order to set up your SharePoint environment, you have your Node.js installed. You need to have a code editor. You also need to have Atom, WebStorm, Gulp, and Human. So these are some of the tools that we will need to set this up. So at this point now, I'll hand over to Jumoke to show us the demo and walk us through how to actually get this done. And when she's done, we'll come back for the Q&A and also other items. Thank you. Jumoke, back to you.
All right. Yeah.
Stop sharing my
Thank
screen.
you, Foyin. So I'm just going to drop just share my screen. Okay, so permit me. I'm going to turn off my
on your side.
Okay, all right then. Okay,
That's better. Thank you.
all right. Is that still echo?
No, you're all good. Thank you.
All right then, thank you. So I'm just going to turn off my camera a bit so that I can save my part of region really. I can save on bandwidth, please. All right then. Okay, so yes, I have my Power Virtual Agent bot here. I'm sure a lot of us already know how to create one, but if you do not know how to do that, I guess that there might be other beginner session. You just need to come here and create a bot and then just put in the details and all of that. Put in the details of your bot, and then that's we go on. Now, I'm not going to run into talking about the different features or that you need to have to create on your bot, because I want to assume that this is an intermediate session. So I'm just going to leave that. Now, again, I have my SharePoint site, and I also created a site to mimic Teams Nation 2022. At least that was what we're trying to do. So I'm just going to assume that this is more of a volunteer site in case some of us wanted to volunteer, and I want my chatbot to be available in all of the pages where people can actually say probably maybe they want to volunteer and then get to have more information of how the conference is going. So I have this already. So ahead of time, you need a SharePoint site, whatever site, a Teams or a communication site is fine. And then I have a Power Virtual Agent. So the first thing I want to do is I've installed my Node.js, and have it in mind. I'm just going to show that. Have it in mind, just like for instance, you have to do what? Install the version 14.x is actually very, very important, because the SharePoint framework actually works with that version. So any other version that you work, that you are going to install, for the SharePoint framework extension is actually going to be crashing and you're going to be having issue. So ahead of time, I want to re-emphasize that. Now, I've installed my Node.js, so I'm just going to bring up my PowerShell, and then from the PowerShell, let's see, um, confirming what version my Node.js is. So you can see that that is actually version 14.0. Then the next thing I want to do is to install my GUP. Now, one of the things you need to have in mind is that you need a basic knowledge of React. Actually, for me, I don't know a bit of any programming language, and that's what makes me very comfortable with the Power Virtual Agent or the Power Platform as a whole, because it doesn't really, you don't really have to know a lot. I mean, in terms of any kind of programming language, you'll be fine. It's low code, no code, so to say, low code and low code platform, and you can really get yourself around it. So the first thing, like I said, I'm going to be installing the GUP. And what is this GUP about? The GUP is a JavaScript-based task runner. What is used for is that it's used to automate repetitive tasks. So the SharePoint framework, how it does this is that builds two-chain. The SharePoint framework's two-chain use the GUP task to build projects. So the first task I'm going to do now is that is what I'm trying to do, to install my GUP. And then you can see that that's has completed without an error. I mean, if you get an error, I mean, just like a warning that I get there, you can actually ignore it. It's just that some of the features are actually what deprecated. Now, the next thing I want to do after I've installed my GUP is for me to install my Yoma. Now, what the Yoma helps you to do is to kickstart your new projects. I mean, Foyin spoke about that a little bit. And then apart from kicking off the new project, it helps also to prescribe best practices and tools for you to help you stay productive. So what the SharePoint client-side development tools does is that it includes a Yoma generator for creating web parts. Now, what the generator is going to provide for you is for you to be able to install tools, and then a common playground, so to say, for your website to host the web pattern for your test, all the necessary web parts for your test. So I'm just going to install the Yoma, and then we'll go through that. Also, it's going to run, and then we can go through that. So bear in mind, it's very important that your editor, just like Foyin said, you need an editor for you to be able to work with. In my own case, I mean, during the Node.js, it's worked. I mean, a bit of Python was installed, Visual Code, you can actually have that. I'm actually also going to be using the PowerShell ICE for a lot of the things I'm going to be doing so that I can check through my codes. Now, the next step for me is to install what the Yoma SharePoint generator. Now, this will help me to quickly build a SharePoint client-side solution with the right two chain and the project structure that I'm looking at. So the next step is for me to do this. First, you saw that initially I installed the Yoma. I just installed Yoma, but now I am installing the SharePoint Yoma generator. So let's see how that goes in. Now, while that is going on and is installing, so let's quickly move over to my Power Virtual Agent. Now, I've created a bot called it Teams Nation bot. Now, what I want to do with this bot is that I go to my manage and then I go to channels. Remember when Foyin was talking, she said you can actually use a lot of these channels. You can pick any of these channels. You can publish your bot to it. Now, what I need here is that after I've created my bot, I need the bot ID. So if you go to any of the documentations online, some of them will tell you go to custom website and pick the, if you go into the custom website, I'm just going to allow that to load. You can see your bot ID. So your bot ID is this characters after your bot. But if you copy it from this place, you're actually going to experience some errors, because at the end of the day, if you look at my at the link, you find out that I have some dashes and all of that that's supposed to be part of the bot ID. So I normally recommend that people go to something like Twilio, where you can actually, or Telegram, or even Slack, where you can just copy the bot ID the way it's supposed to be. So I'm just going to copy this bot ID, and I'm going to look at a notepad and just keep it there. So bear this in mind that this bot ID is already, so I'm just going to leave this. Now, the next thing I want to do is to do what? Is to publish my bot. Please don't forget to do that, because if you do not publish your bot, you're going to be having problems by the time you deploy it to the SharePoint site. You will not be able to connect. So for you to be readily available, just publish your bot. Now I'm creating a very simple bot. I'm not doing a lot of all of the customization, because the whole essence is for you to see how this is done. And at the end of the day, you can actually do your own customization. I mean, enhance it the way you want, and then you can see what goes on there. Now, one of the things I want you to bear in mind, that look at the topics. I left it as the default topics. And if you look at the great things of the default topics, really, you have it as the default topics that comes with every bot that says I'm a virtual agent. So I'm going to do this. This is already published. I'll come back to you. Just take note of what I'm showing here, so that by the time I come back, you will know where I am driving at. So let's jump back to our PowerPoint. Our PowerShell. Now, great, our PowerShell has completed. And then, so the next thing I want to do, even while that has completed now, is for me to create a folder. Now, I'm going to just jump into you can create a folder, any part, in any place or in any part of your system or where you're comfortable with. Just create a folder, or you create a space. This is like me creating my workspace. So I just want to let you have that in mind. So I'm just going to create a folder, so that this will be like a workspace or a storage point for all my packages. That's all I want. So I'm going to call this folder again, Teams Nation Bots. You can call it any name, please. It doesn't matter, just give it a name. And then so I'm going to change the part of my, I'm going to copy this part and then change the part of my PowerShell to it. Okay, now I've changed my directory to that. And the next thing now I want to do is for me to create the SPFX station. Now, one of the things you need to have in mind is that the SPFX station is actually what is going to host our bots on the SharePoint. So what the SPFX station allows us to do is to, like Foyin already said, is to deploy our bot to all the pages in a single site, as against you deploying those bots one after the other, and then you now have to configure using a web path. So that's the difference. With a web path, you can only deploy to a single page. But with the SPF extension, you can actually deploy to all the pages in a single site. So what I'm going to do now is for me to create my Word, my SPF SharePoint SPFX extension, sorry. So this is gonna run through that. All right, great. So you can see this is connected. In case you do not have this connected, then you must just you might want to be sure that at the end of the day you have you've signed into your Office 365 environment and you're already signed in. For me, I'm okay. So just make sure that you have that. So it's gonna ask me what is the name of my bot, and I still want to call it what? Teams Nation. My solution name, sorry, Teams Nation bots. Then what type of client-side component do I want to create? Remember, is an extension. If it was just a single site, I will be picking the web part. But for this, I'm going to be picking the extension. Now with the extension, I'm going to have to define my application customizer. That is what I'm going to select. Now, the application customizer has already given it a name. So what is your customization name? I'm still going to just call it a Teams Nation bots, right? And then it's create that. So I'm just going to allow that to run through the process, and then we're going to create that. So while this is going on, if you have any question, just pen it down on the chat window. If the chat window is, I want to believe it is enabled, and I'm sure Foyin can be helping with the questions ahead of time. Before we get to the end of the session, or if you prefer actually to speak it out, just pen it down, and then at the end of the session, I will be taking some of those questions. Okay, so one of the things after this that I need to also emphasize ahead of time around prerequisites is that if you want to try this in the lab, you don't really need to have like you can use your trial. You can sign up for the M365 developer program, and then you can have access to an M365 E5 trial license that is renewable every 90 days, and then you can actually use that to do your lab. You don't need to really have like a license to be able to do that. That gives you like a SharePoint site. Also gives you like even the Power Virtual Agents trial site, instead of you signing up for that individually. So I would encourage you to check up the M365 developers program and sign up for that, and you can have that started up. Now, to just give us an overview of what this is trying to do. This is still working, so I just want to talk about, if you look at all of this, so changing my path to it, you can see that all of my packages is actually coming into this folder that I created, which is very important. And that is why if you leave it at the default, so if you leave it at default, it's going to be going, you have to check it up in your system 32. Let's see what is happening here. Okay, I think it's because I just, okay, no issue. Okay, so I'm not using these. Let me go back. I don't have any. So I'm just going to wait for these to complete. And then all of this, like I showed you, is actually saved in that folder that I created earlier. And then if you just go with the default path that is in PowerShell, and that would be in system. So you have system 32. That means you have to go to that path in system 32, and then be checking all of that. So you need to be. That's why it is important you create a folder to store your package. Or sometimes if you might have to also, it might also have to be in your program data, that is the user profile. You might have to go and look for that in your user profile. But I'll prefer, like I said, I'll encourage you ahead of time to just create a folder wherever you are, wherever you're comfortable with, and then you change your directory to it so that you can have every of your package extracted and then created in that location. So we're just gonna wait for this to run through. Okay.
So while we're waiting, I'm just trying to put in some of the reference links that'll be helpful into the chat window. So it enables them try out all of these things. Like they have some links they can reference in order to build this out as they watch the video later on when it's published on the channel, on the Teams.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you for. I think that's good. So we have our bots created with that created. I mean, this our solution created. I mean, so the next thing I want to do is for me to modify the extension to host the bots. And with that, I'm going to be running this command to install a bot framework web chat. Sorry. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And this command is going to run it. So there's a bit of command, and then this is actually going to be available. Like I think when this is some of the step-by-step, we can make that available for you at the end of the day. Just like for instance, some of those links is actually very important. She's pasting it, you can see. One of the things you need to be mindful of is also looking at how the framework is set up. Is actually very, very important. The SharePoint Framework extension, you have like an official video for that on the Microsoft document sites and the learning sites. You can actually use that to see how the SharePoint Framework extension is set up. So a lot of commands to run, but I can tell you it's really nothing really. I mean, just a little bit of those things that we need to get in place before we can start can publish our bots to the SharePoint site. So just a little bit of all of those. Now, so the next thing I'm gonna be getting ready is actually creating. I just want this to end. Is creating a .txx file, so to say. To permit me, I'm still trying to boot up. Is for me in Nigeria here. This is 9 o'clock in Nigeria for me, so I'm still trying to boot. So, all right. I'm just gonna wait for this to end also. Okay. One would say is a lot of commands to run or a lot of process to run. It's just part of the requirement. All right, great. All right, so that being done, the next thing I want to do is to go back to my folder because I'm sure a lot of things has been created right now. So I'm going to go into this folder called the SRC inside the folder I created initially. And then I'm going to open the extension and I'm going to open the Teams Nation, my solution folder. Now here, I need to create a new, text file, but this is not the name, so I'm just going to create a new text file and copy some form of code to it. With the site that Foyin is sharing, I hope probably where all of these commands are on the GitHub, you will readily see all of that. But what is important here is this line, this bot ID. So remember the bot ID I copied earlier. I'm going to change this bot ID. I'm going to copy it. I'm just going to copy it and then replace it with it. Okay, so that's all I need to do here. The other thing I also need is that depending, I just want the title of my bot to be what Teams Nation Chatbots. That's all I want. So I have all of this prepared ahead of time. So that's what is important. I just want this title to be what people see. So at the end of the day, I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this as chatbots.txx. So it's actually very important. I'm going to save this. So I actually do not need this. I can delete this. So if you're comfortable creating this .txx file anywhere and then bring it here, by all means, it is fine. Now, the next thing I want to do is my application customizer. So I'm just going to edit my application customizer, my notepad, and then I'm going to replace it with another line of code. And then what is important is that what is also important is that in case maybe what you see online, you have to look at the string, pay attention to the string, because what you see online may not be the same thing as your chatbot. So you pay attention to a lot of this string or this character so you can replace whatever name. So let's assume you decide to do your own with. You just call it chatbot. That means you're going to replace all of these Teams Nation bots with chatbot at the end of the day. So I'm just going to replace this with what I want. All right. So this is fine. Ahead of time, I have my stuff here. So I normally like to have this, to use this to look at a lot of what I'm doing to be sure that probably if there is any error, I can know from which line those errors are occurring and I can do that to correct anything. So bear this in mind. This is all that you need to do from here. So, this is all I need to do from here. So I just want to get to that. So the next thing I want to do now, which we're already approaching the final stage really, is for me to do what to deploy it towards SharePoint. Now, but before I deploy to SharePoint, I need to go to another part in this same folder. I need to go to my config folder and look for this serve.json file. Now, what this serve.json file I wanted to do here is for me to copy the URLs. Let's say I wanted to serve and test this locally on the SharePoint, but I will not be doing that for the sake of time. But I'm just saying that so that you can have this at the back of your mind. Now, the page URL needs to change to the URL of your SharePoint site. So what I need to do now is for me to go to my Teams Nation URL on SharePoint that I created. So I'm just going to copy this. And then go to my serve.json file and replace it. Let's see. And replace this URL with it. And then do same here also. Let's see that. Now, I could test, but I do not want to. I mean, I'm looking at time. So for you to test, you just need the gulp serve to test with your on this same PowerShell. You just need to run this command for you to test it locally. But I don't want to run that. So let me just paste it. You just need this command for you to test locally. Let's see. But I don't want to do that. I just want to deploy straight because of time. So I'm going to just run the command for me to deploy it. So what this is going to do is that it's going to package it and then create the package after for me to be able to it's going to deploy, I mean, it's going to create the package for me into an SPKG file that I can now do what, I mean, I can now take to my SharePoint site. There are about 2 commands anyway. So it's just going to create this scope is going to create it, and then I'm going to run another command to package and ship it. So, yeah. Okay. So we're just gonna wait for this to run again. I'm just checking through the chat window if we have any question. I guess I have very intelligent audience today. I guess everyone is going along with me. All right, this is great. So one way ask what's the importance of this, and then to re-emphasize it, what we're trying to do is a situation where you can have your bot follows you around almost in every page, in any SharePoint site that you are. So you wouldn't need to be that, okay, I'm in this site, I'm just on this page. That is the only page I can do what? Access the bot. But what we're trying to do with this is to make sure that the bot can follow you around and then you can chat from wherever you are. So great. The last command, which I'm going to run, and then we'll go straight to will be for me to ship it. I have many more minutes, please let me know.
You got about 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes.
Okay, great. Okay, it's fine. I think we're okay. So great.
Okay.
All right, I'm almost done, I think. So fine. So now you can look at this SharePoint, and then we have our solution, and then you can see the package that has been created. So this package is what I'm going to be deploying now to the SharePoint site. Now, the first thing you want to have is that when you go to your SharePoint admin site, So you want to look through if you have your application catalog. If you do not have it, I think there are quite a lot of documents online where you can have the steps for you to create your application catalog in case it's not available. So the first thing is that we need to upload my package. I need to upload my package to the SharePoint site. So I'm going to be going to apps for SharePoint, and then I'll need to upload it. Now, uploading my package, I'm going to browse through the location where I saw that before. Let me just be sure I am here. And then select this and then click OK. If there is a version, if you want to put a version to it, you're free to do that. And then what you can do is that ensure you make this solution available to all sites in the organization, which means this is going to be available to every of the sites. So, but if I just want it to just be on that page, I don't need to, for that site alone, it is okay. Now, depending on the size of your bot, what I like to do is that I like to create my bot very light, very, very light. And then I can continue to do the customization, because so that at the point of me uploading it, it is actually very easy for me to upload. Now let's look at what goes on. So now, this bot is available on my SharePoint catalog site, but then it's not available on this site. I can refresh the site, you can see. So what I need to do now, so is either I come here if it's not available. If it's not available, another way for me to do that is to come here and come to apps, and then you can actually do what? Upload it from, you can actually upload it from apps, but that is not done. So all I just need to do is that now I've seen it. So you can see it here, open your chatbot dialog. And then when I open it, let's see what happened. So you can see if I do now you can see the message I was saying that you're going to get. But let's say I still want to work on my chatbot and probably maybe on my bot, sorry, and probably maybe I want to change I want to do some customization. So let me go back to the greeting and make the greeting to be more at home. Let's say I am Teams Nation bot, and I can help with questions around the conference. Now, don't forget to save your bot. And all I need to do from here is for me to go what? When this is saved, just republish your bot for the changes that has been that you've pushed. And then once I publish this once again, I go back to my SharePoint site, my Teams Nation. So let's see if I type I again, what is going to give me. So you can see, okay, sorry. So let me refresh. So assume that is not. So let's see what my I will give me. So you can see my eye is telling me now a different message. I'm a Teams Nation bot. So with this, I've come to the end of my demo, but then let's see me going around all the pages. What we're trying to say is that when you go around the pages, your bot follows you. So I'm in about page, I can still see my bot here. I go to new volunteers page, I can still see my bot here. So with that, I have come to the end of my demo. Thank you very much. Over to you, Shoyi.
Thank you so much for thank you so much, MJ, for the wonderful demo. And I think we're all excited to see the bots finally working after running so many lines of scripts. So we've dropped a lot of references for us in the chat window. The video will also be available to us in due time. In the meantime, please drop your feedback. The link is in the chat window. Please drop your feedback. We encourage you to attend more sessions. We're here the whole day. So please attend more sessions, and also show your love on social by telling us a bit of what you've learned, and using the hashtag of Teams Nation, and also mentioning Teams Nation in your tweet or your LinkedIn post. Thank you so much. Back to you, Ken.